Cape York's changing all the time. 25 years ago, when Milo was new and I was still riding trail bikes up here, it used to be tough. It still is tough. There's still lots of tough places, but the major routes, they're all getting graded and smoothed out. And the old TELE track, that iconic bit of Aussie four-wheel driving, well, it's had a few changes too. Telstra put a cable through. They had to grade some of the crossings to do that. And in a couple of years, I've heard there's a pipeline going through there too. That'll change things again. So as much as anything, and the fact that Jack's never seen it, I reckon that's a good excuse to come up and have another look at the TELE. We're going to meet up with Jeff and Luke up here at Bramble Station, and then the three of us are going to head up that track. I can't wait, to be honest. I love the Telegraph, and I love this end of Australia. Get a load of Luke's 75 series. What a beauty. It's got the Pro Lockers back and front. He's had this custom rear made for it. It's an awesome truck. But Jeff, well, Jeff's the local, isn't he? He's got the 80 series. It's got XGF suspension and poly airbags and a dual battery system. It's got that good stuff you need for touring. So with two good trucks, we're off. Time to do the TELE. Our trip's kicking off from Bramble Station. We're going to take the TELE right from here, which is the straight route to the top, except for all the bendy bits. And then once we get over the Jardine, well, then we'll go and see if we can find a beaut little sunset on the coast or something up at Bamaga. I got lucky with my travelling mates on this one, that's for sure. Jeff's a local. In fact, he's involved in the Bamaga trading shop up there. He comes up and down here all the time. Doesn't always take the TELE track, but then he's one of us. So he does as often as he can. And well, Luke's a mechanic, a diesel fitter, and he works out of Weeper on the big mines trucks. You know what? This is great. A couple of guys like this, I've got a fair chance of getting through unscathed for once. One trick to travelling up the Cape is to stash your grog. There's some pretty serious fines if you carry alcohol through the wrong places up here. Jeff knows that really well, and so like most of the locals, and most of us travellers too, he knows you've got to stash it. And this time we got lucky and we actually found it. It's nice to see that so far anyway, it's just the way it's always been. There's no big change. The Telstra guys did us a real favour. I mean, they could have just as easily bulldozed this into a big track, but they've actually been very sensitive about it and put the cable just to one side, haven't they?
If you didn't know it was there, I mean, you can't see it.
It's no place for a low vehicle, is it? That's all. I mean, you wouldn't have a hope up here if you didn't have a bit of rain.
Oh, look at this beautiful water, eh? You can just taste the pure rain in it. Beautiful. Look at this. Typical. 3 exits. 2 are completely impassable. They're just for mugs who like to muck around, like me. And the third one is a walk in the park. Too easy. There's nothing too hard about crossing the Dulhunty, there never has been. In fact, the only incident I know of up here was a certain tour guide operator who came through here in his troop carrier at the same time a bunch of Swedish backpackers had decided to go for a swim at the waterfall here. And he got a little bit distracted and ran into a tree. And I think I'm still paying for that rhubarb actually. The Telegraph Track's aptly named. It's littered with remnants of the old telegraph line, which used to run dead straight. It's amazing how the road doesn't anymore though. Look at this, what a beauty. And it's one of the rare ones still standing. You know, they came through here, I think 1885, and it took them a couple of years to finish it, but it was an awesome job. Can you imagine coming up the Cape when there was nothing else, on horseback and laying these poles? I'll tell you what, the pioneers, they really had a hard job ahead of them, but for the first time, by 1887, Australia was wired up to the rest of the world. It's really quite awesome, you know. One of the horrible things, I guess, in a way, is that over the years, people have been just knocking them over just to pull the insulators off the top, just to go home with a souvenir that wasn't a plastic crocodile or a t-shirt. It's a bit of a pity, and I bet there's a lot of people I'm talking to out there who've got a few insulators at home somewhere. And you know what? The thing that I always find amazing is that to this day, our best four-wheel drive tracks, for most of the time, follow power lines or telegraph lines or some pioneer's early cut through the bush. Birdie's fairly typical of a lot of the track river crossings, and there's so many of them, it's so much fun. In Birdie's instance, you run along the edge on the right-hand bank coming from the southern bank, and then you get to just the right spot and head to the left and over you go. If you haven't walked it, you can be in all sorts of trouble. Wind up taking a swim when you don't want one, something like that. Jeff and Luke knew that. I mean, they're following me and they're locals anyway. But when Tim brought the camera car through, oh, it was a different matter, wasn't it? He got it all cocked up and we just about had to go to New Guinea to get him back. Big angles are a real Cape thing, and that's why we don't put a lot of weight on the roof. The combination of a heavy roof rack and low tyres, that'll see you on your backside all day long. Things happen pretty quickly up here when you're having fun. It wasn't long before we were on Gunshot, the infamous Gunshot. Ooh, you gotta love this one. Whoa, that's where I busted my CV, coming up that one. This one's all different, eh? Yeah, I sort of got to the bottom and stopped. This is the infamous Gunshot, probably the most photographed creek crossing in Australia, definitely the most famous for a whole lot of really good reasons. There's 5 possibilities to get into Gunshot. One of them is eminently drivable. It's very, very easy, and that's because the Telstra guys came down here, laid a cable, flattened it all out. But this place holds all sorts of memories for me. It really does. Over the 30 odd years I've been coming up the Cape, I've broken an ankle over there on a trail bike, falling off the wall on the steep one. Milo pulled its winch to pieces going up that hard one in the middle. I lost a drawbar on a Prado up here pulling a camper trailer through. So many people have had a breakdown here. Now it's not really necessary anymore because it's fairly easy. But because we're four-wheel drive action, and because of what this creek's done to me over the years, there's no way I'm going to let it go. I'm going to go and try the track that broke my CV, trying it the opposite way. It's pretty muddy at the bottom. It should be a bit of an adventure if nothing else. I don't know if the guys will follow me through yet, but we'll see how I go. Now I know it's soft and slippery, so I've got the rear locker in and bang! Jack goes straight into the glove box. No worries, we've got through. A lot easier this way than it is the other way, that's for sure. Dumph! Beautiful. Oh, there's a bit of water in here. No way was Jeff going to miss out. He brought the 80 down nice and controlled. If you consider all the wheels locked up, sliding nice and controlled. That mud at the bottom. Mud is the bane of Gunshot. The mud here is stickier and wetter and oozier than anywhere else in the world, I think. It certainly slows a few people up. There we go, nice clean rims and everything. Well, Luke saw the fun we were having. There was no way he was going to miss out. And even though his 79's a heavy old beast, over she goes, all locked up. Very controlled slide too, it was. Potential for a lot of damage there, especially with an independent front suspension setup, but he handled it beautifully. By crikey, there's a lot of weight in all that aluminium, you know. Too easy. Good old Milo. Pretty soon it's time to set up camp, and well, Luke's got the poshest setup I've ever seen. He likes his comfort, and boy, this is comfortable. Straight off the top of the rack. Good on you, mate. This looks like a bit of a construction over here. Jeff's tent cot. I'd need a 48-page instruction book to put one of these together. But he's got the knack of it. He's done it before and it goes together really quickly. Pretty comfortable way to sleep if you ask me. Not sure if it's as good as mine though. Simple old Polaris awning. Swag on top of a bunk. There's only one thing missing. Nice place to camp, eh? Creek's just down there. Midnight skinny dipping. Well, actually, seeing as we're all blokes, there'll be like 10 o'clock skinny dipping, 11 o'clock skinny dipping, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So I might just go for the 1 o'clock. And if you're going to travel up here, especially with the old dengue fever around and all the rest of it, these little numbers are perfect. Now, look at that, Queen of Sheba.
What to do with a sharp knife, actually?
The normal thing once we've set up camp is I get to do all the cooking while the other guys sit around the fire and do the drinking. Well, maybe not always, but in this case, how lucky am I? Jeff is a chef by training and he's worked in some pretty flash resorts too. So he offers to help and I take him up on it. In fact, if I had my way, I'd be sitting down at the creek with a beer and he'd be doing all the cooking. But that only happens in the movies, doesn't it? The end of a hard day's four-wheel driving, we need something good and tasty and plenty of it to fill us up. And that's exactly what we're going to have. How'd we go with this one?
Really good.
Really good? Next morning we're up bright and early, packed up and heading for Elliott Falls. I guess when it's the TELE track, there's a bit of fun every day, there really is. But I've got one big tip for people who come travelling up here, and that's do a bit of preparation before you come. Now here's something that'll really test out the articulation, and you get stretches like this all the way up the TELE track. If you didn't sort your suspension out before you came, you're going to know about it here, aren't you? Well, the old leaf springs handled it quite well, but look at the way the 80 does it all without the body movement. That really is technology at work, isn't it, folks? Mind you, this was quite surprising, the way the 79 came through. It handled it so well, I was really quite surprised. Once again, good suspension is the key component. And there's a guy who needs no suspension at all. Hey, Jack. Well, that's the way I've always gone in the past. This is cockatoo. And more than anything, cockatoo illustrates the importance of walking creeks on the TELE track. First thing you learn when you hop in here is it's ripping away today. There's heaps more water in here and it's really travelling, which leaves the next possibility, which is if you get your door line below this, you've got a fair chance of going downstream fairly rapidly. So the trick with cockatoo today is going to be to try and get the vehicles on the highest ground, and by the look of it, that's where it is. This sort of boomerang shape on the right hand side. It's a little bit rocky, a few dips and whatnot, but the boys have walked it, haven't got over their knees, should be okay. The main crossing over that side at the moment should just about carry you all the way to Darwin, the way it's ripping along like that. This is great, isn't it? How'd you go on that, Jeff?
Coming through it now, mate. No hassle.
Good stuff. Jeff said it was no hassle, but he had wet carpets afterwards. This is one of the big differences between a ute and a wagon. If you look at Luke's ute, it's pretty rare the door line goes under the water in this crossing. So he gets to keep his carpets dry. They're a very capable truck, those 79s. Not quite as strong as a 45, of course. Oh dear, someone's catching a nanny nap. Must have been a couple of beers the night before, eh? Once we get over to Elliott, I'm pretty keen to set up camp, but Luke is going to take Tim, our producer, out for a bit of a look at the rough stuff we've got to go through tomorrow. At least that was the plan. All of a sudden Luke became part of the rough stuff we had to go through tomorrow. Oh, there's 2 ways to check the depth of a puddle, Luke. Using your truck's one of them. Bogged. Absolutely bogged. And whilst it might not look that bad, when the mud gets as sticky as this, it is bad. You're stuck. You're belly panned out, mate. Now, Luke's not short of surprises when it comes to recovery gear. He's got the long-handled shovel, he's got the Max Tracks, he's got everything you'd reckon a bloke would need to get out of here. But guess what? It's just not happening. And the reason it's not happening is because the truck's sitting on its belly. That's all right. Pretty soon Jeff's along in the 80. They're going to work something out. There's a lot of new recovery gear coming out of bags about now. But that's the trick, isn't it? Use someone else's. Now, did you see that budge an inch? No, neither did I. It's stuck. Really firmly stuck. The sun's going down. The guys are starting to get worried. It's time to call in the reinforcements. We're going to have to try something a little bit tricky here. I know these guys are experienced four-wheel drivers, so I know that they've tried everything properly so far and they've had no luck shifting it. It just isn't going to happen. So we're going to break out the shackles and break out the blocks.
Recovery blanket.
Recovery blanket. That's us, mate. I'm not sure if you're supposed to use it for this or after a hangover, but... Okay, well, we'll just use that there and we'll put this where it should be. First effort out, we've got the line doubled up. And look at this. It's not really shifting, is it? In fact, it's pulling Milo forwards. So we've got 2 problems here. We haven't got enough strain to pull the truck out, and the truck doing the pulling is shifting. Well, there's only one thing for it. We get Jeff to chuck the 80 over the ledge and we'll back up in on that. Man, that's an awful lot of pull for no movement.
It's stuck.
It's really stuck. We'll get both blocks on it. We'll go 4 times the torque and we'll chain up again.
Alright, so just chuck this in the back for now.
You've got hold of this one, Jeff?
Yep.
Fun.
We get 2 chains and cook them.
Yeah. We'll do the. I think these are different size chains, but so have a look. What we might have to do is go off Milo twice, back to that chain or something. So what we're doing here, we're going to get Jeff's truck and stick it down the ditch that we've just climbed up. That's our sand anchor, the whole truck in this case, and then we're going to chain Jeff's truck to Milo, tighten the chains and get our winch strap 4 times doubled down. I know, and I ain't picking fights with you. All right, unfast your floor.
A little bit to get beyond that lip, so that'll take up the slack. Yep.
Righto, I'll tell you when to get into reverse, Luke. Right now, Milo's right between these two heavy trucks doing all the pulling from both ends. You reckon I'm glad I got good bars back in front? You bet I am. It's the only thing that kept the old girl in one piece. Hang on, mate, we're nearly there. A little bit in reverse. Steering to the... Turn your wheel to the right. He's out! Hey! He's out! Oh, listen to that winch. That winch, it sounds horrible. I think we just killed it. It was a really nice feeling getting that truck just to move a few feet. Once we'd done that, we knew we were on the way out.
Guess we'll have to go back to the camp now and have a beer then.
Couple of hundred.
At more expense.
Steve, isn't it? I want to say thanks to Steve, because if he hadn't come down with that chain, we wouldn't have had a hope in hell. Where's the dog gone? Oh. Well, I might head back to camp for those beers, but I think Luke's lost his wallet or something.
Something, yeah.
No worries, mate. When you find it, we'll be back at camp near the esky. Stick around for more mud and mayhem when we return to finish off the telly.
Adventure off-road campers are the most refined camper on the market today. With a massive king-size bed, roll-out awning over the awesome kitchen and more accessible storage than any other camper. Adventure campers are built for adventure by Adventure. Check out our website today.
It's nice to get to Elliott Falls for a bit of a wash-off, I can tell you. This place is pretty civilised as far as the Cape goes. Lots of signs and boardwalks and all that nice tourist stuff. Because a lot of tourists fly in to see the top end, hop in a car and come down to Twin Falls, and that's it. That's their whole Cape experience. Mind you, they did pick a very nice part of it, didn't they? Oh, well, after that great big recovery last night, there's nothing better than coming down here to Honeymoon Hole at Elliott Falls for a bit of a wash. I'm in. There's something about Honeymoon Hole that's very, very romantic. Not so much on this occasion, but I do remember an occasion about 7 years ago when the handbrake and I came here, and as a result we got 3 kids. Won't be coming here again. Definitely a lot more water up the Cape this year, for this time of year anyway, and you can see it in the way the guys are taking it easier over the creeks and even shifting a little bit to the side with the bulk of the water flow. And that means, of course, that the usual way of doing things is wetter and slipperier than normal. Isn't that right, Luke? I don't believe it. We've gone, what, nearly 2 kilometres and you're stuck again?
Yeah.
You take all the hard tracks.
Someone has to.
All right, what do you want to do?
Get out.
Righto. Winching.
Out again.
This is where Luke got stuck, by coming up the main track. Wheels there, wheels there. This is where everyone's come. Most of you people know this, But at the end of the day, where everyone else went is not always the best place to go. And I've got this theory that I know you would have heard before, the 3-truck theory, you know. First truck goes through, no worries. Second truck makes it, but only just. Third truck gets bogged. And the only way around that is to pick a slightly different route if you're the second or the third truck. We'll see what Jeff does. Your best bet would be to ride that bank up. It's not going to be easy.
Alright, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's all fun. Straighten up, go back and straighten. Good, get straight. Ooh, squish, squish, squish. Just about down to the windows. So, what do you reckon? Those 2 cartons that Luke owes you?
Sounds like we're doubling up, I reckon.
Oh, gee, I'm doing well. I'll have to make some room in Milo for all these cartons. We're going to pull Jeff straight back because he wants to have another go at it. And why does he want to have another go? Because he wants to get it right. And the only tip I can give him is to give it lots of berries. Do you reckon he can get out from there?
Can't get out from here. I might try and attempt at the other side.
I think that's what he had in mind too. The other side with a lot of mungo. And that's what it takes sometimes, folks. Pedal to the metal. Now you could see very clearly there the advantage of a little bit more power. If Jeff had been able to make a bit more power, he would have scooted through there the first time without any recovery. And that sort of tight situation where you need some instant momentum is a really good reason to have a bit of a play and get some more power. In Milo's case, with the new motor all balanced and everything else, I took it to AWMS and I got them to fit this little bleed valve. What that does is increase the turbo's pressure from 8 to 11 psi in this case, it's adjustable, and that gave me 18.7% more power, which is a really noticeable lump, a kick in the pants when you need to boot out of tight little places like that and get somewhere in a hurry. Slightly better fuel economy too, which was amazing. If there's a downside, the engine runs a little bit hotter when it's working. You expect that. Terrific way to spend $600. And power, of course, in a 4-wheel drive is something we all need.
That little bit of rain's killed some of the dust. So I tell you what, we're going to have to make a bit of a shift on because what's the last ferry? 5 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah, 5 o'clock's the last one.
Righto, Luke, no more getting bogged, mate.
I'll try not to.
That was fun. Beautiful.
Now, I reckon this should be about Log Bridge.
We've changed the approach too. It used to come down there and like this, and that was when it was really gnarly. So this is all good, eh guys?
Make the ferry after all.
We'll make the ferry. The log bridge has been built up from years of 4-wheel drive clubs and the odd tour guide party coming through here, throwing down some more logs. Now that's all good, except the danger with Log Creek is the logs rolling apart and the wheels dropping through. That happened to me in a Prado with the camper trailer, same one I brought up here once before, just about wrecked it, and we lost the side rails and all sorts of things. Now, the trick is to have a good look at the bridge, and if you can see that it's going to be a bit of a drama with those logs rolling apart, Use your snatch straps, tie the bridge up, use some wire, pull the whole lot together with a bit of rope, wire, snatch straps, whatever, and you'll get across no problems at all. See you up the river!
Hey?
See you up the river!
Hey, this is deep.
Hey?
This is real deep here.
How real deep?
Like here? Righty, yeah. I just walked through it and that might need to be.
And then it's straight up again. This is Nolan's last major creek crossing. It was pretty deep. It's going to be fun. Well, look all nice and flash for when we get up to Bamaga. Whoa, straight in, just like the yellow submarine. She made it through though. No problems with Milo. Lots of holes in the floor to let the water out. Jeff didn't have quite the same luck though. He managed to belly the 80 almost straight away. Now that is just bad luck in this situation, but the worst thing about it is that there's water coming in the whole time, so the truck's getting heavier and heavier, soggier and soggier, and it's not going anywhere. Oh, it used to be such a pretty truck. This is the 3-truck rule. This is exactly it in action.
I might take a different line.
You might take a different line because you're the 3rd truck. No, fair dinkum, it works every time. I mean, there's no reason with your bigger tyres, I didn't have lockers on or nothing. You should have come straight through, but you couldn't because I stirred it up. So it's the old, if you're first, you look like a hero. If you're second, you get to
look like an idiot.
You couldn't look like an idiot.
Should we move yours out?
Yeah, I'm going to move mine out of the road, and we'll leave Jeff's here because now it's full of water. It'll be nice and heavy, make a good tow truck. Ugh, yuck, irky perky. Mind you, I'd rather be in there than in the water with the crocs. Luke takes a whole different line, goes right around the corner and whips straight through, no problems at all. Makes you wonder why we didn't go that way the first time, doesn't it? And of course, our friends have done the best thing you can do in this situation when you're travelling on your own. They've waited till someone else came along and made all the mistakes, and then they've suited up, got the plastic tarp on the front to get the bow wave going, very necessary with a petrol disco, and they've gone straight through. That's the big trick. Wait for someone else to sink. Before long, we're back on the development road and we make the ferry for the last trip of the day. Jack's on croc watch up the back there. Good bringing your own crocodile bait along. Half an hour after the ferry, with the sun setting, we make it to Loyalty Beach, one of my favourite campgrounds in the whole world. This is just an extreme place. It's a beautiful place, and it's the perfect place to end a hard trip like the TELE track. You know what? It doesn't matter how many times I've done the TELE track. The feeling of achievement when you get to the end, when you get up here to the tip, when you get to watch the sunset over the ocean and have a nice beer on the beach, It just gets better and better. You know what? I could do this again and again and again. Never get sick of the Cape. Righto, well I suppose I better show you blokes how it's done. Hey, how do I work this thing?
You're going to show us how it's done.
Watch out. See? It's easy. That's all you do.
You actually use it completely back to front, mate.
You actually use it like that?
Oh, just wanted to see if Luke knew what he was doing. Hello, here we go. There, so what? That's what happened to mine, it went that way. So the theory is you just keep throwing this little silver thing out until one of the fish gets knocked on the head, is that right? It's called a bird's nest, and I did that deliberately to show you guys who don't know how to fish what you shouldn't do. Isn't that right, Luke?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks mate. Yeah. That's why people go fishing. Look at that glorious blue butterfly. You get to see so much of nature at first hand. Oops, hey, I caught the anchor rope. I got something, it's hot wash. Right, well I caught everything else here except the camera boat, so it's your turn next. Hey, look at that. Caught a fish. Yeah, well I reckon if we sort of surround it with onions and a couple of steaks, we'll get a meal out of it. Come out here and have a look.